everyone, quelle journée pour recommencer. It is a French phrase. I hope everyone is doing good right now. Buckle up, for we'll have an adventure to the world of philosopher. So, the philosopher I choose for this project is Rene Descartes. Most people pronounce his name as Rene Descartes, which is wrong. He is French. It is a French name. And we all know Francois or Frances or French people. There are words that they do not literally pronounce every letter.
Oh, really?
Or maybe it depends also on the ones pronouncing it. Their race, their language, or basta. Rene Descartes was a French mathematician and philosopher during the 17th century. He is often considered as the precursor to the rationalist school of thought. Rationalist school of thought means rationalism. So he is often considered as the precursor or the outset or the one who started it. So he is often considered as the one who started rationalism. When we say rationalism in Western philosophy, it is a view that regards reason, that regards logic as the chief source and test of knowledge. And Descartes is one of the most significant modern rationalist philosophers. He is commonly known for his philosophical statement also, I think, therefore I am. He is also attributed with developing Cartesian dualism, also known as the mind-body dualism. It is a metaphysical argument that the mind and body are two different substances that interact with one another. So, because he was one of the first to abandon scholastic Aristotelianism, because he formulated the first modern version of mind-body dualism, from which stems the mind-body problem, and because he promoted the development of a new science grounded in observation and experiment. He is generally regarded as the founder of modern philosophy. Applying an original methodical doubt, he dismissed apparent knowledge derived from authority, the senses, and reason, and erected new epistemic foundations on the basis of the intuition that when he is thinking, he exists. This he expressed in the dictum I think, therefore I am, or in Latin, Cogito ergo sum, though originally written in French, Je pense donc je suis.
Je pense, donc je suis.
What makes Descartes stand out is that he was a fierce rationalist.
Oh, really?
Again, when we say rationalism, rationalist, it is the reliance on reason or reliance on logic as the best guide for belief and action. So, in an age when many philosophers still back up their arguments with appeals to God, Descartes trusted in nothing more than the human power of logic. This is how he defined the kicked off his book, Rules for the Direction of the Mind. I shall bring light to the true riches of our souls, opening up to each of us the means whereby we can find within ourselves, without any help from anyone else, all the knowledge that we may need for the conduct of life. So, Descartes had immense faith in what introspection, guided by definition, sound argument, and clarity of thought could achieve. He believed that much of what was wrong with the world was caused by misusing our minds by confusion, bad definition, and unconscious illogicality. His life was an attempt to make our minds better equipped for the task of thinking. To solve key questions, Descartes proposed that one always had to divide large problems into small, understandable sections by way of incisive questions. This is what he called his method of doubts. So we get modeled by certain questions like what is the meaning of life or what is love? Because we are not careful enough about how we break these big inquiries down. He described the method of doubts as akin to having a large barrel of apples, where good ones are mixed with bad ones. So to be a philosopher means a commitment to sorting out the entire barrel, to inspecting each apple individually, and throwing all the bad ones to ensure only those of the best quality left. Another way to think about Descartes, and this explains why he would, among other things, turn out to be such a hero to the leaders of French Revolution, is that he believed in grounding all of our ideas in individual experience and reason rather than authority and tradition. In his greatest book, Discourse on the Method, published in 1637, he explained how he had come to write it. A long time ago, I entirely abandoned the study of letters, resolving to seek no knowledge other than that which could be found in myself or else in the great book of the world. I spent my youth traveling, visiting courts and armies, mixing with people of diverse temperaments and ranks, gathering various experiences, testing myself in situations which fortune afforded me, and at all times reflecting personally upon whatever came my way so as to derive some profit from it. So Descartes spent a large part of his adult life away from his native French in the Dutch Republic. Native France in the Dutch Republic, rather. Since he held the belief, not entirely wisely, that the mercantile Dutch would, as a people, be far too concerned with earning money to pester a free-thinking man like himself. Nonetheless, it turned out that the Dutch were a little less materialistic than he'd hoped, and the philosopher ended up moving 24 times to keep ahead of spies and government agents. So, Descartes' subjective approach to philosophy reached its climax when he arrived at the famous phrase Cogito ergo sum, or in English again, I think, therefore I am. And as I have mentioned, it is originally written in French, Je pense donc, je suis, in the Discourse on the Method, before then appearing in Latin in the Principles of Philosophy of 1644. It was intended to be Descartes' ultimate answer to a question that philosophers sometimes get perhaps unreasonably interested in, namely, how can one know that anything, including oneself, actually exists rather than being some sort of dream or phantasm? On his quest was certainty around his question of whatever it might all be dream. Descartes began by observing that our human senses are deeply unreliable. He couldn't, for example, he said, be trusted to know whether he was actually sitting in a room in his dressing gown next to a fire, or merely dreaming of such a thing. But there was one thing he could know for sure. he could trust that he was actually thinking. His existence could be proved by a neat tautological trick. He could not be thinking and wondering that he existed if he did not exist. Therefore, his thinking was a very basic proof of his being, or to return to the maxim or dictum, I think, therefore I am. This might not sound like a huge insight, but Descartes used it as an Archimedean point in an epistemologically unsteady world. With this certainty safely banked, Descartes argued that his mind could go to discover other similarly irrefutable truths.
Oh, really?
So, in aid to everything mentioned so far, his systematic doubts about all his beliefs is one of the most crucial contributions to philosophy. Descartes found that it was easy to believe something to be true even if it was false. And this provoked him to throw out all his beliefs, rigorously test them one by one, and only to continue to hold those that were indisputably true. This method is known as Cartesian doubt. In aid of a thorough skepticism, Descartes developed several thought experiments that undermine sensory experience. In one such thought experiment, Descartes supposes that instead of a good and loving God, there is an omnipotent evil or genius or demon who is set on deceiving us. In his famous text, Meditations on the First Philosophy, 1641, Descartes writes, I shall then suppose that not the optimal God, the fount of truth, but rather some malign genius, and the same one most highly powerful and most highly cunning, has put all his industriousness therein that he might deceive me. I shall think that the heavens, the air, the earth, colors, figures, sounds, and all external things are nothing other than the playful deceptions of dreams by means of which he has set traps for my credulity. I shall consider myself as not having hands, not eyes, not flesh, not blood, not any senses, but rather as falsely opining that I have all these things. Descartes contend that this demon could be so powerful as to create an entirely fabricated world of experience that we mistake for reality, and we would never know. Empiricism contends that the senses are our most reliable source of information, but Descartes found the senses to be profoundly fallible. The same conclusion could be drawn when examining madness or dreaming, that our senses can lie to us and our experience might not correspond to fact. This led him to dismiss experience as the ultimate basis of knowledge. Oh, ganun. Descartes applied this profound skepticism even to his own existence. He asked, if I cannot have knowledge of the existence of things provided by my senses, how can I trust my own existence? Oh. Descartes concluded that he could be absolutely sure of his existence because he had doubt. For the question of existence to arise, there must be a thinking entity that originates it, and that is the axiom we have been mentioning. Cogito ergo sum, or I think, therefore I am. Descartes' profound conclusion was an important example of what could withstand radical doubt. It confirmed the thesis that knowledge can be derived from the mind itself, from the faculty of reason. Furthermore, it confirmed that there must be two kinds of substance, mind and the matter. Descartes could conceive of himself without a body, but he could not conceive of himself without a capacity to think. The dualism of mind and body is a classic example of synthetic a priori knowledge, a key feature of rationalism. So, that is all for today. That is all for this vlog. Thank you for your time.